on December 16th, 2019, that independent groups cannot, quote, engage in hate speech at federally funded schools without violating federal civil rights laws. What is hate speech?
Well, Senator, I believe hate speech is speech directed at a particular ethnic group or nationality intended to intimidate. We do not, prosecute speech lightly. It never should. Prosecution should be focused on actions, but I do think there are certain instances where speech is directed at a racial or ethnic minority with the intent to intimidate.
And you think that violates our Constitution and federal civil rights laws?
Senator, I think it can if it is intended to convey a threat, to suggest
a threat is different from hate speech. I'm asking for a definition of hate speech.
Well,
a clear standard that a judge might apply.
Senator, I appreciate the difficulty of this area. And it's in North Carolina, we have had a hate speech act, but when we see intimidation and threats that appear to be motivated by racial or other...
Intimidations and threats are different. That's not hate speech.
Well,
it can be motivated out of hate, but threats are a clear and different legal standard.
What I was going to...
I'm trying to figure out, you didn't say threats and intimidation on December 16th, 2009. You said hate speech at federally funded schools without violating federal civil rights laws. So I presume you have in mind some definition of what hate speech is.
Well, Senator, I think I had in mind what has been in statutes. And the statutes I'm most familiar with, usually ethnic intimidation will convey an enhanced or might have an enhanced penalty to it. I think prosecutors have to be very careful in this area. I completely understand the First Amendment concerns, and I share them. But I do think whether it's the General Assembly in North Carolina or Congress has been willing to say that for certain types of intimidation or threats that seem to be motivated by racial or other impermissible animus, there can be an enhanced penalty.
Does the Constitution allow the government to treat any American differently based on his or her skin color?
It depends on what is being treated. If it is identified discrimination based on race or gender or sexual orientation, then under the Constitution, under Supreme Court precedents, that those characteristics can be considered in remedying that identified discrimination.
For a specific institution to remedy specific past discrimination?
Well, that has been established before a court, and there's going to be a remedial effort to deal with it. That's my understanding, Senator.
But in other instances, the government must, of course, treat all citizens equally, irrespective of their race.
Well, Senator, that is going to be defined by the Supreme Court. I recognize there are a number of areas where neutrality is the best approach. You think about the Texas top 10% plan or raising the minimum wage. There are a number of areas where you may be able to address disparate historic treatment in a race or gender neutral way.
Do you agree with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that we should judge people by the content of their character and not the color of their skin?
Yes.
Let's turn to a couple Supreme Court decisions. You've voiced your support repeatedly for Roe v. Wade. You believe that Roe v. Wade was correctly decided?
I do, Senator.
Do you believe that D.C. versus Heller was correctly decided?
I certainly, there has been a range of views about
the first one was very easy. The second one is not so easy.
Well, no, what I was going to say applies to both, which is there has been a range of discussion and disputation about both decisions.
So Roe v. Wade was very easy for you to say correctly decided. Why is D.C. versus Heller not so easy? Probably because you disagree with Heller, right?
Well, sir, they're both the law of the land. With Casey,
no, they're the law. Well, I was not up for a judge,
right?
Not up to be a judge.
Right.
The office you're up for literally has policy in its title. I bet I could ask Judge Williams if he thought Marbury v. Madison was correctly decided. He'd probably say, "I can't decide that. I can't say it because I'm going to be a judge." That's what I'm asking you.
I could.
Literally, policy is in the title. What's the difference between Roe v. Wade, quick yes answer, D.C. v. Heller, a hedged answer? Is it because you don't agree with D.C. v. Heller?
No, I might have, if I was a justice of the Supreme Court, which I will not be, I might have voted with the minority in that case, but that's not relevant to the position I've been nominated for.
Actually, it's very relevant. You're going to be reviewing all these judges. I bet you're going to try to find judges who share your views on DCV Heller and the Second Amendment. Anyway, my time's expired. Senator Tillis was very generous. We've got a vote to go to as well, so I'll yield back.